We are just a few days past April 14th. And I know people automatically think, well, tax day is April 15th, but we're going to talk about April 14th today. And that is called 414. The reason why I'm going to mention it is because I was at a 414 industry event. Actually, it was a fashion tech summit in Wisconsin this week. And they have a big 414 day because that's their area code. So they celebrate it. Well, this 414 Fashion Tech Summit was put on by a friend. Actually, it was a gentleman that used to work here for a short time before he moved away. And I tell you what, Brad, it was fantastic. So I hope you don't mind me sharing a little bit of insight that I received this week on AI as well as fashion, but it was just a different type of event, different circle than I usually would be. But wow, did it not only get me out of my comfort zone, but it did get me into different conversations. I'm Laura Sutherly with Agtivation, and we're here with Harvesting Growth. And yes, I might have started talking about the fashion industry, but I am going to, of course, introduce the most fashionable gentleman I know, Brad Killgore. He's here today with me again to discuss what all came out of this big summit.
Awesome. Well, I try to be as fashionable as I can for your show, Laura. So thank you.
Well, it's always great to see you. So thank you. No, so basically, Straight Lines AI, they are making leaps and bounds forward with AI in the fashion industry. And Griff, who used to work here, he was one of my main designers before he headed off to Atlanta and then ended up in Wisconsin. And it was fascinating always to see him work. He, with his knowledge, his understanding, his training, I joke and had mentioned to Brad earlier that I might have put an Illustrator file together when I was initially designing, and the Illustrator file might had 20, maybe 25 layers. And then when Griff would get a hold of it, he could take it to many, many, several hundred layers, and you could just see how that design would come through. Well, fast forward, he really took on the technology bug. And then with AI coming forward, he took things beyond what any of us would have thought in the fashion industry. So he was demonstrating what Straight Lines AI was able to do with fashion. And I know that my listeners here are probably thinking, why are we talking? Usually we're talking about agriculture. It got me thinking, like, wait a minute, if we're looking outside of our own industry, what can we grasp and learn from others? So it gives you different discussions, different questions. You hear from different leaders. So this room was packed with, it was a sold out crowd. I'll say it was packed, but he wanted to keep it under 300. So there was the people that were there that were icons, several major icons, including the goat of the shoe industry, who is very well known for his shoe designs, Stephen Smith, as well as Luke was there, and he is the chief of staff for Google DeepMind. Sorry, I wanted to make sure I got that correct. Hearing from these different speakers was amazing. And it got me to think, we have definitely moved from concept to creation, and it's faster than ever. So anyone, any of our listeners, any of our viewers, if you've got an idea, now's the time. You can build whatever you think. I know before, Brad and I, we've both been in this industry for many, many times. It's been a wonderful ride. We've been able to go and work with teams. We've been able to work with the depth of talent. And so when we had an idea, we could pull everybody together. When we're meeting with our clients, we are able to hear where they would like to go, hear about their visions, and then strategize with them through a discovery call and really take what they are thinking about, their visions, and work with our teams to build that out. Now, with what is being in front of us, having just our phone, being able to talk it out with these different systems allows those ideas and those concepts to come to life much, much quicker. And that's one thing that Luke was demonstrating when he was talking about how Google's moving forward. He mentioned their vibe coding ability now. And he gave the demonstration of, while he was in Milwaukee, he flew in just for the day, but he took a run before then, and he wanted to do a scavenger hunt for his niece and nephew, talked it out, and before he even made it to the conference, he made an app that he was able to send to his niece and nephew so that they could do a scavenger hunt around any city that they might be visiting in the United States. I mean, talk about fun. But to his point, he was demonstrating that if you think it, you can talk it and actually develop it. So even though we have a tremendous team of developers still, it's making all of our jobs easier. In other words, it really shortens that time to production. Yes, as I mentioned, with me in my limited knowledge of Illustrator, I can make it look good. Griff could make it look amazing. So, same with any of these. Yes, you can make it look good with the vibe coding, and a development team can make it look that much more amazing. But look how much closer, and we're able to take those visions and get it out there so much quicker. Wouldn't you say?
This is exciting. I'm anxious to hear more. This sounds pretty.
It is. It is. So I know we don't have a demonstration today on the vibe coding, but I will go ahead and bring one next week regarding even one that I have built for our own farm and demonstrate that, because I think, again, just the ability to talk. The other thing, too, is the thought leaders there in the room were saying AI and automation is they're making work more efficient. We want to think about reducing those manual tasks, improving decision making. So there was some discussion because, of course, there was a few colleges there, a few professors that were saying, whoa, whoa, whoa. And as I mentioned about the illustrator, my example there is, yes, education is still vital. Matter of fact, that's one thing that Luke mentioned, that he is still in school. As much as, he has many degrees at this point, but he makes sure that he is in education every step of the way. So with the college professors and anybody that was there in the room, that was the one thing that they saw, is that their creativity of their students were coming forward, that because they were excited, because it got the creative juices going with these tools that are out there now, the students were doing even more and more. So using AI and automation was making it more efficient. It was freeing up that thought time, and they were able to dream and create just amazing, amazing projects moving forward.
So it sounds like there was a lot going on. Everybody really was inspired. And like I say, there was some heavy hitters there in the fashion world. And then tell me more about the guy from Google. What was it? DeepMind?
DeepMind, yes, he's in charge of more of the audio. So basically, what he oversees is anytime we're talking to our systems. So whether it be Google Map, he makes sure his team makes sure that it's accurate. Whether it be using our mic when we're in any of the AI Gemini tools, he was mentioning about NotebookLM, and of course, what all that's coming, what the depth of learning and capabilities. He demonstrated, of course, the podcast being able to add in resources. And I know we've demonstrated that before, that when you have that Notebook LM and you're able to click create a podcast, not only are you able to listen to the conversation, and if you're an audible learner, that's huge, but you can actually interrupt the speaker and say, whoa, tell me more. And just that allows, again, students, our employees, our own education, if we are that on the move, needing to learn it while through our phone or whatever, that just gives another opportunity instead of just sitting there and reading. Now, if reading is most important, there's flashcards. You can create the infographic. There's many things. So again, we'll demonstrate that on the next episode, and we'll make sure we mark that. But what Luke was showing, that Google is really moving forward faster. And now that the Notebook LMs integrate with Gemini, and I know, Brad, that is right up you've taken to that quickly when they just rolled that out. So maybe you can tell the listeners and the viewers a little bit more about that importance. And if you want, you can share your screen if you happen to have any of it up to demonstrate as to how that works, or we can just wait till next week's demo.
I do enjoy what's happening there. And what you were just talking about, too, of how people can learn by using NotebookLM/Gemini is amazing. And I don't know that I've even thought about that at the depth you just explained it, whether it's flashcards or I knew about the podcast portion where you can kind of interrupt, and all of a sudden your podcast hosts, which are AI, are like, oh, wait a minute, we have a caller, or we have somebody who has a question. which is crazy. But I never really thought about that for learning. One of the ways I use it for learning is the slide decks. It will create slide decks based on whatever you've trained that notebook on. So in the case of employees or students or whatever it is, you put all the source pieces in there of what you want that notebook or that brain, of lack of a better word. You put the sources in there, and then from there you're now communicating with this isolated area of the internet that just knows what you told it to learn about. So I think that that's really cool. And then the next piece is what you mentioned, and we don't necessarily have to do a screenshot, but if you go to gemini.google.com or however that's the easiest way to see it. They're already starting to roll out now how the notebooks live on the left-hand side of Gemini. If you're, it's not rolled out to every single plan yet as we're recording this, but I know if you're in a personal Gmail account, for example, or Google account, I know I have a pro account, I can see it there. Now, when I go to Google Workspace, my business account, it does not show the notebooks inside Gemini yet, but I would imagine that's just a matter of time.
I would think so. And it's going to take things to the next level because I have twins. I was blessed with twins and they each learn differently. So to your point, for the flashcards, that would have been right up my daughter's alley to load any of the resources, whether it be PowerPoints, whether it be notes from college courses, notes, anything like that. My son is more audio, so he would want to go ahead and have the podcast. That's what he would want to use. When we think of, as you mentioned, the SOPs, the teams, even the infograph, you can go ahead and have an infograph created and print it, and therefore just kind of provide an overview of what your team may need to do, especially at different stations. It's endless. The possibilities are endless with that. So I think we need to keep in mind that it does what used to be a daunting task of trying to create. It gives us options to look at it and edit. What is just a click away would allow you to edit and add extra information as you see fit.
That's exactly right. What an exciting time we live in. I'm sure that as it continues to progress, the whole learning environment, whether that's schools, universities, businesses, all of it is shifting to where it's so much more powerful and it's easy or easier to create, to set
Yes.
it all up.
Well, and creativity is expanding. That's the one thing that also came up. And I know we've talked about how things are leveling the playing field at the moment. But when I'll just refer to the fashion industry, they were saying some of the students, of course, would be very strong in drawing. Some of the best designers are fantastic with their pen and paper. But now what happens is that you don't need to be an expert to bring those ideas to life. So as we think of agriculture, there might be something that you work on, wow, this would make my life so much easier when it comes to business. This may move or improve the way we do things. You don't have to be as creative as you once were. Again, just talking it out really takes you there. And again, I'll reiterate, it's a lifelong learning. I mean, you and I are in AI, we're into, obviously, we both own businesses. We are crazy busy every day, that we have dedicated time to make sure that we stay up with our education. But yet we put together this particular webinar series, Harvesting Growth, in order to bring bite-sized information so that people could go, oh, wait a minute, that was mentioned, the Notebook LM was mentioned, I'm going to learn about that. Instead of having to learn about everything coming your way, you can decide what is the best tool, because that's exactly what they are. They are tools in order to move and improve life. And like you said, best time ever, because it is endless. It is absolutely, the possibilities are endless and very, very exciting. The other thing too is, and we'll kind of summarize with this, is build with purpose. I mean, the question is it's no longer can we build it? Does it solve a problem? So when it once was is, ooh, that's fancy. Okay, that's nice. But instead of focusing on that, think of what problem does it solve? Because now we are all builders. And that was one thing that came to the forefront of this event, is that we are all builders. And yes, it can impact jobs, but what we're finding out is it's removing those tedious jobs, letting everybody move forward very efficiently, not be burnt out with just copying and pasting and moving things from the left to the right. They're able to build. And if they're able to solve problems that businesses are seeing, that is exciting.
It is. It really is an exciting situation. I always stop and think of how cool it is now. How cool is it going to be in 3, 6, 9 months from now, 2 years from now?
Absolutely. I don't think we can get our minds around that. Matter of fact, that's what someone asked is, can you forecast where Google would be in 3 to 5 years? And he said, I'll take it down to less than 1 year, because again, the way it's compiling, it's building upon itself. It really is moving faster. And that's, again, one reason why we're hoping to bring bite-sized information for our audience, our viewers, to grasp, learn, and run with, because it comes down to a strong foundation. We want to make sure we have a strong foundation. So if there's one thing that I would take away from the conference, besides that we are all builders now, is be disruptive. You can definitely be disruptive, because that will make it better. So take the time to just allow yourself to think as you're using all these tools to move yourself forward faster in a more efficient way. You have that clarity, you have that time to think again. So be disruptive so that you can solve problems, make it better. So Brad, anything else that you'd like to add today?
No, I think you summed it up exactly right. It's changing, so now's the time to adapt, learn, and implement.
Absolutely, absolutely. So as we wrap this episode, like we like to say, again, I'm Laura Sutherly, and we just want you to get back out there to play in the dirt.